Hi, I'm Ashley from Sunny Made, and today we are going to work on the pineapple blossom block. Hello friends, welcome back. I'm glad you're here. It's another week where we get to put a whole quilt pattern together. So let me show you what we're working on. This is a fun pineapple blossom. It's a stitch and flip method that I'm going to show you how to use. And then when we put it together, it's going to create this really fun pattern with these white triangles. Now, let's talk about what you want to use for materials. I used what is called a honey bun cake. It is 1.5 inch strips of fabric by width of fabric. So about 44 inches, 43 inches. Okay, this would be great as a scrap quilt because we're just using small pieces. If you have scraps, use your scraps. It will be great. And then our squares here that we're going to be using on the center and the triangles, those are all 2.5 inches. So pull out your scraps. I promise you will love the way this turns out, and let's get started. Okay, here is our block layout. So let's talk about what we need. We need 3, 4, and another 3, so 7 background pieces that are 2.5 by 2.5 inches square. We need 2 pieces that are 1.5 by 2.5 inches. We need 4 that are 1.5 inches by 4.5 inches. We need 4 that are 1.5 inches by 6.5 inches. And then we need 2 more pieces that are 1.5 inches by 8.5 inches. So like I said, these are great for your scraps. What we're going to first do is take our middle piece here and going to sew these 2 pieces on each side, and we are going to press everything out towards the edges, away from that center of the block. That will make it super easy, and we will start that way. So get those pieces sewn on and bring it back here. Okay, now that we have our first sides on, we're going to put those top and bottom pieces on. Okay, now that we have all 4 pieces around the edge, it is time to do our corner pieces. We are going to place this so it lines up with the edge of our block. We are then going to draw a line corner to corner on this, and we are going to sew just on the other side of that line. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with this one. Now, this is not a 1/4 inch off the line, just slightly on the other side of this line. Now, if you want one where the line will disappear, this is a friction pen, and when you use it, it disappears when you iron. So once we iron it, it'll disappear from our block. So I want you to sew right along the outside of that line. Okay, now that we have these sewn on, what we're going to do is we're going to fold these back so they line up with the edge of our piece on both sides, and we're going to iron them there in place. Now that they're ironed, we're going to just cut off those back 2 triangles on both sides. Try not to cut my fingers. Okay, so here we have our first set around. Now we're going to connect these 2 and then connect these 2, and then it'll be time for our next set of squares. Okay, now that we have another set that goes all the way around, it is time to connect our corner pieces. Once again, I drew that line. I'm going to sew right along the inside of that line. Okay, then I'm going to fold them back and iron them down. Okay, so here is our block. If you want to see the back, I just ironed all the pieces out towards the edge. That just seemed easiest. Actually, it makes the block on the back of that block look really pretty. Okay, so here we just need to finish our last round of triangles. Okay, I'm gonna stick these like this. Okay, sew along, iron them back, and cut off those corners. Okay, here we have our final block. Now let me show you what we're gonna do with these. The idea is we will lay them out so that the triangles all go towards a center point to create a diamond. And then we will sew them together and sew them into rows, and then sew them into a quilt. Now you actually have a couple of options of how you want to do that. I probably won't leave this like this because that's too many of the same fabrics next to each other, but let me show you. You can either put them together in groups of 4 and then lay them out as a bigger block, or you could lay them all out like this and sew them into rows and then sew the rows together. So get your blocks all put together. Hold on to those corner triangles. I did that video on what to do with your extra triangles. These would be perfect. Put them all together and let's get a quilt top together. Okay, here you go. The quilt is all done and put together. What do you think? Okay, let's talk about this. How can we make it smaller? If you want it smaller, make less blocks. If you want to make it for a baby, make less blocks. If you want to make it bigger, you can make more blocks. You can add some borders. I'm thinking I might actually add a couple borders here on the outside. I do like borders. And so really these are very customizable and you can decide how big or how small you want them. I'd love to see how yours came out. So if you'll tag me on Instagram at Ashley_SunnyMade, I would love to see them and find me on Instagram. I hope you have a great week and happy sewing.